This is a course about philosophy, and in particular about the part of philosophy called ethics, or moral philosophy. We're going to understand ethics in a very broad sense. The question of ethics is how to live, or what to do. How should I live? What should I do? Philosophers attempt to understand that question, to figure out exactly what it means, how it can be answered, if at all, and to answer it systematically. So I said that this question, what should I do, is a very broad question. It takes into account all of the pros and cons of all the different things you might do, all the different reasons you might have for and against the different actions you might perform. We might say the question is, what should I do, all things considered? We're going to start by distinguishing two kinds of considerations that you might bring to bear on this question, what should I do? Considerations of morality and considerations of well-being. So moral considerations are considerations of right and wrong. You might ask yourself, is it wrong to eat meat? Is it always wrong to kill an innocent person in order to save more lives? Am I morally required to donate some of my wealth to charity, and it would be wrong not to? A rough test for when a question is a moral question about right and wrong is whether, if you did the thing that was wrong, others could blame you for it. We can think of being morally wrong as one of the central kinds of considerations that we might bring to bear on the question, what should I do? And in a broader sense, think of moral reasons as considerations that bear on whether an action is right or wrong, the kind of features that make an action right or wrong. But we're not always worrying about morality. Sometimes we're just thinking about our own well-being. Sometimes I'm facing questions where I'm not worried that I'll be acting wrongly, but I'm still unsure what I should do. Should I get more exercise, or should I sleep in more? Should I try to make more friends, or should I spend more time with the friends that I already have? I might not be at all worried that I'll be acting wrongly if I try to make friends or spend more time with these friends, but it's still a hard question. Often what I'm asking when I ask that question is, what would be most conducive to my well-being? What would be better for me? The question of well-being is closely related to questions of benefit and harm, questions of what makes me better off and worse off. So these two questions of morality and well-being are not only different questions, but sometimes point or seem to point in different directions. So for instance, I might be surfing the web and think, look, I could illegally stream the latest episode of Game of Thrones. It's available online. I can ask myself two very different questions about that. One would be a moral question. I know it's illegal, but is it morally wrong to stream Game of Thrones from the web? On the other hand, I might ask myself a question about well-being. Would it be good for me to watch it? Would I enjoy watching it right now? Maybe I'm exhausted and should just get some sleep. Although those two questions, is it morally right and wrong? Is it good for me or bad for me, are different questions. Their answers might well be connected. Maybe acting wrongly or doing something immoral is bad for me. Maybe the best life for you is going to be one of doing the right thing. We also shouldn't assume that questions of morality and well-being exhaust all the kinds of reasons there are to do things. There may be other kinds of reasons that don't have to do with either morality or well-being. But at least two central kinds of factors that we take into account when we're asking, what should I do or how should I live, are considerations of morality and considerations of well-being. This course will address both of them. In part one of the course, we'll look at systematic theories of well-being. Theories such as hedonism, on which well-being is primarily about pleasure and pain. Desire satisfaction theories of well-being, on which what's good for you is getting what you want. And what we'll call objective theories of well-being, on which what's good for you depends on wanting the right things. In part two of the course, we'll ask, can there be objective answers to ethical questions? Objective answers to questions about how to live and what to do? Or are all answers in some way relative or subjective? Part 3 of the course will turn to some systematic attempts to answer ethical questions that address both well-being and morality. And there we'll look at some of the ideas of the great moral philosophers, including Aristotle, Immanuel Kant, and Jeremy Bentham. Finally, in part 4 of the course, we'll turn to some interesting, difficult, practical questions about what is right and what is wrong. Questions having to do with our treatment of animals and what we owe to strangers in need. By the end of the course, you'll be in a position to put together considerations of well-being and morality to answer the question, how should I live? And we hope you'll see how thinking systematically about ethics can help you to live a richer, more self-directed life.